links if that's easier. Ooh, okay. All right, now get serious. So if there's something that really hits you right and you want to utilize with your teams, just reach right out and we'll find a way to make sure you can use it in ways that are important and intuitive for you. So just getting my thank yous and my disclaimers out of the way. So let's get your chat fingers warmed up a little bit. And I really want to know what makes a meeting good? Like you're gonna Teams or Google Chat, someone be like, oh, that was a good meeting. Ah, that was a good meeting. I had such a good meeting. All of those. What makes a meeting really good?
Do you want us to unmute or do you want us to put
You
it in
can
the
do
chat?
that. Sure. Either. I'll take anything. What makes a meeting good for you, Brooke?
For training wise, I feel like the more interactive, that's what makes a good meeting. Instead of just listening to somebody talk the entire time, I like a little bit more interactive.
All right. Brooke wants engagement. That's perfect. Brooke, I didn't plant you, but we're going to talk about why that is how we make meetings meaningful today. Kayla's with you. She said the same thing. Cindy said food. We do lure people to trainings with food. I think that's something Zoom has lost a little bit, that we can't offer snacks. Useful information. Yeah. Sometimes it's when you take something away, it feels like a treasure. Efficiency. Use the time well. Stay on topic. Okay. Definitely things that I associate with feeling like a meeting is good. You want stuff to do. All right, Shamia's looking for things to do. She wants getting agenda items complete, genuineness. Shungi, I'm with you with that too. I want to be with people who I feel like are their authentic self when we're in a meeting. Yeah. That means a lot to me too. Some things that make your meetings really good. Toys. Yes. Sometimes those do, especially if it's a long day of meetings. Yes, something to do with my hands. I'm there for you all. I'm with you on that too. So let's take just a moment. I'm always trying to figure out in a virtual space. I think Zhengyi was talking about genuineness. I'm always trying to extend a little bit of who I am, not at work, into it, because I'm hoping that you'll do the same. Bring some authentic pieces of yourself into this virtual space. So this is a picture of me when I'm 2. Um, my dad took this picture. He's been gone almost 10 years. I really miss him. But we have the same eyes. This part of our face is the same. And in this picture, I think I'm asking, can we go get ice cream? And he's saying yes, because that is definitely something we did together a lot and meant a lot to me. So that's what I imagine the truth of this photo is. But here's what I'm going to do when I'm with you all today. I'm going to manage the time. For those of you who efficiencies matter, we will stay on time. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to seek connection. I would love to know more about all of you and have you learn things about each other that make your work world better places. Lots of discussion and clarity and meaning making. That's why I'm always looking to be in a meeting. Otherwise, it could be an email, right? And here's what I'm hoping you'll do. So, being really curious and asking questions, being really gentle with yourselves and others. This is your lunch hour. I don't care if you eat a steak dinner while we're here together. Um, so, please do what you need to do to be really good to yourself during this time together and engage to whatever degree you can. If you love to unmute, unmute. If you want to chat it up, chat it up. If you want to soak it up, that's okay with me too. So it's quick, 60 minutes. Okay. So just want my hope is that after we're done today, you'll be able to apply something in the trauma informed lens to your meeting spaces or your work experiences. I'd say one takeaway, I'm going to be greedy. Maybe 2 would be what I'd really love, but at least one thing that you know you're going to do differently at 1 o'clock today. So you'll feel like this one thing I'm going to do before this week is over. And now I see some of my precious consultant peeps on this call. And some of you that join us for a trauma group are really familiar with this. So 90 seconds is what I'm going to give you. I'm not going to read a poem. I'm not going to play any music. I want you to do something for yourself. If that's breathe, if that's doodle, if that's stretch or stare into space. I'm going to watch the clock and give you 90 seconds to just do something for yourself that you need to do right now. And the only rule, Allison could probably shout this out, is no doom scrolling. Okay, it's the only rule. Be really good to yourself for 90 seconds. I'll call you back into this space. And then we're going to meet that goal. We're going to talk about trauma-informed ways to have meetings that matter. Your 90 seconds starts now. Time to come back, turn that camera on if you had it on, and we're now ready, right? To do some work together on this topic. I stole this slide from Alison Graham, that's why it's beautiful, and stole it directly from our mental health consultation orientation. So imagine with me for just a minute that before any meeting that you go into, say a meeting you're in charge of, you promise yourself that you're going to recognize everybody coming into that space has a history you probably don't know every detail of, has a home life that you probably don't know every detail of, has even maybe had a morning or a week that you don't know every detail of. You're going to recognize that and maybe challenge yourself to pay attention to it a little bit. And then ask, if I notice this, I'm going to respond to it in some small way. And during our time together, I'm going to really work hard to ensure that I'm not doing anything that could potentially activate this person or re-traumatize them. What happens if that's the frame of reference for every space where people gather? How does that sound to all of you if you walked into a meeting and you knew the person who created that space was doing that? You want to go to that meeting? Yeah. So if we challenge ourselves to keep these 4 R's of trauma-informed care in the front of our minds anytime we're gathering with others, and say, hey, when someone behaves in a way I don't understand, I'm going to ask myself what happened to them. And that's really what trauma-informed care asks us to do in its most simplest steps. Here's the tenets of trauma-informed practice from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And this is what we're going to use to move through thinking about meetings today. So this is our little scaffold, our little structure, skeleton of our time together. All right. So we'll go back to some reflective questioning. Why do we do this for young children? Why do we do it? I'm humming the Jeopardy theme in my mind, in case you guys wonder what I'm doing over here. Sets them up for success. Sure does.
So they know what to expect?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, they know what to expect. Reduce anxiety, Rachel Dowd. Okay. Keep grounded, right? Absolutely. Predictability. Yep. We know one of the cornerstones, right, of quality care. that there's routines. Okay. Independence. Yes, we know that they'll have a little more agency if they know how it's going to go. And any of you who've ever been in a classroom in a teacher role know that they hold you accountable. Once they get old enough and they're like, you skip some, like they start to take ownership of that schedule in really, out loud kind of ways. So this, you're all right, of course. Of course, you're all right. And it's safety, right? So this need for safety never diminishes. Um, Predictability reduces anxiety for all of us. I often think about things in terms of development and attachment. And whether you're 6 or 60, predictability reduces anxiety. It supports a shared understanding, and it allows us to kind of acknowledge cognitive load. People have a lot going on. And when that's there, it kind of allows us to let go of those other things and focus on what we need to focus on. It also provides a structure, which can be really helpful. Because once we have a structure, we know what to anticipate. We naturally start to prepare, right? And we have a sense of how something's going to go, which just gives us confidence that we can participate appropriately. And we do that in meetings in these ways. We have agendas, we send minutes. But here's some other things to think about. Having really clear intentions. What is it we're doing during this time together? Clear roles and responsibilities. Who's doing what during this time together? And then also prioritizing regulation. The science or the new study I looked at when I was preparing for all of you said like a 48-minute meeting is like the perfect amount of meeting time, just because people, that's when they're ready to do something different, when they're ready to move on. It's like a Netflix episode and a half. I don't know what's happening, but 48 minutes was sort of the sweet spot for a meeting. And being mindful of that time. When people trust that you're going to prioritize their time, they engage better. I know you're not going to ask me to extend past this. I know that when we move through this agenda, you're going to end it. So they offer more of themselves in that space. And it also tells them, let's say we're keeping that trauma-informed lens, stuff's heavy. They kind of know how to, when it's going to be over, right? They can make plans for themselves to stay regulated during that time together. So Stephen Rogelberg is out of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and he wrote this really cool book, The Surprising Science of Meetings. And there's tons of cool data in it. One of them is that like 55 million meetings happen in the US every day. Another one is that non-managers have like at least 7 meetings a week, managers at least 12. So meetings are a big part of our culture, no matter what kind of work you do. Oh my gosh, that animation is a lot. Okay, I regret that animation immediately. And vow never to use it again for text that's long. Okay. So this is one of the things, obviously, he recommends this reflection, this assessment. It's a self-assessment he asks that the people who run the meetings do. And it's a meeting quality assessment that thinks about a calculation of wasted time. Now, Stephen is inherently playing in our trauma-informed world because what he's asking you to do, we know that teachers create climates in their classrooms, providers create climates in their programs. You create the climate in your meeting. And it doesn't mean every meeting has to be the same. In fact, he recommends that meetings changed based on a whole variety of factors. But he asks you, as the person who's in charge of that space, to think about the design, to think about the dynamics of time, to think about interpersonal dynamics. Anyone ever been in a meeting with that weird tension no one talks about? To think about discussion dynamics and then what happens afterwards. Shamia was saying she likes that kind of agenda stuff. What do we do when the meeting's done? He asks you to really think about that because one of the things he learns and talks about in this book is you don't necessarily know how you're perceived or how your meetings are perceived. And so it's our job to continually ask that question. Am I using this space to the best of my ability? And I would ask you to say, am I using some trauma-informed practices in this space that I'm creating? All right, another question. I'll hum the Jeopardy theme in my head. You're welcome. But why do we teach caregivers to help young children identify their feelings? Tons of curriculums made lots of money doing this. Second Step, Creative Curriculum, Incredible Years, PBIS. What's the secret sauce here? Build their social emotional vocabulary, Roxana says. Definitely. Labeling leads to processing. Yes. Name it to tame it. Helps with self-regulation, Karen's saying. All feelings are valid. Gosh, that feels like something everyone needs more positive messages around. Regulation, Cindy says. Absolutely. So you're all right, of course. I'm going to say that. They learn to identify their feelings. It reduces challenging behaviors. It does, absolutely. They can learn to better manage them. So it also does something else. When you identify your own feelings, that's the seeds of empathy. Because once I know what it feels like and looks like in me, I start to see it in you. So one of those hidden reasons is that it helps us start to understand not just ourselves, but others and their emotional experiences. And in our early life and throughout our life, Erik Erikson's going to say that we're asking that trust versus mistrust question. And I would say we never stop asking that, can I trust you question. In fact, we get a little bit more refined with it, but we ask it our whole life long, can I trust you? And so trustworthiness is a big one here. And it matters for a few really incredible reasons. It's also the foundation of attachment, right? And I'll say to you, essential for learning. How many teachers that you don't trust have you learned from? Very few, I would say, right? It's how you collaborate. Anyone been the person in a group where you do all the work and the group gets the credit? Yes. Hello, my fellow people. Yes. Right? When you trust people, you want to collaborate with them, right? It connects us to empathy, like I said, and we get this shared meaning. When you trust each other, you create almost your own language of being together. And this can happen in meetings, and it happens when the facilitator tells the truth. Anyone in those supervisor positions know you can't always tell the whole truth. Sometimes you have to say, there's something I'd like to tell you and I can't tell you yet, which is a painful thing to say to people you're trying to build trust with. It's a growth mindset that happens, right? When we're in these meetings and we're thinking, I don't know what you're bringing into this meeting, but I'm going to trust that I can plant some seeds to help you succeed. Clear expectations and then accommodations, right? Those accommodations come about because in that trauma-informed lens, I recognize that if we have trust, you can come to me and say, my grandma's really sick and I need to have my phone at this meeting. And I know there's a no phones rule, but if it rings, I got to step out. And I'm going to go, absolutely. That's totally appropriate. But you don't do that, right? If you don't trust me, you like keep it under the table or you keep it on vibrate or you don't come to the meeting, right? But if there's trust, we can have accommodations that make sense for everybody. So there's some really cool science about trust. And we're almost getting to a breakout activity. Don't worry. But for my engagement peeps, we're getting there. Maybe if Kayla says we have time. Kayla's in charge of time. Okay. So the neuroscience of trust is really cool. And Paul Zak studies just this. Like, what is it? What is trust? And what does it look like in organizations? And it does something really fascinating. It releases oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, which is like, well, why do I want that at work? Someone's like, I don't need no cuddle hormone at work. I think you do. And you want your people to have it too, because this is what happens when they have it. This is what happens in a meeting when they have it. They stay engaged. You retain them. Their well-being improves. There's innovation that happens because with trust, that collaboration gets really rich. And then there's this increased performance. So high trust cultures and organizations lead to really wonderful things. And so that trustworthiness, and if there's people like, I don't have time to focus on trust, Jillian, we have a contract with deliverables. I would challenge you to say, if you want to meet those deliverables with high efficiency and efficacy, and you want to retain talented staff, then you definitely want to have a trauma-informed lens and build some trust. And now it's time to play. Large group style, Kayla, or we can do breakout style?
We can do a few big breakout rooms. Do you want to do 3, Brooke? 4?
Brooke says 4. Okay.
All right.
So we're going to put a document in the chat. It has these directions on it, and it has 2 links to 2 trust surveys. These are not fancy surveys. They are very simple surveys. One of them asks you to think about trust as a leader, and the other asks you to think about trust in your team. So take a peek at them. You don't have to read them in totality. You can sort of decide which one you like. Discuss as a group. We're going to do this one. Someone volunteer to take notes. I didn't ask. Someone think about it. Someone volunteer to take like 3 notes and choose someone who will share out with a larger group. This is a quick activity. We're going to say 5 fabulous minutes, which is why Brooke thoughtfully put you in small groups. So you can look at these surveys and then come back and talk to us a little bit about what trust means for you and your team. All right.
Make sure you click on the link before you pop in. I believe with the new update to Zoom, you can still access the chat, but just make sure you click the link so you have that. And if not,
take the link with you. Okay. Follow Brooke's instructions. Take the link with you, and I'll see you all when you come back. 5 minutes. I don't have to do anything, Kayla. You and Brooke are doing it.
Isn't this lovely?
If something crazy happens, Allison can run the session. Someone should tell Allison I said that. If my power goes out, she can run it. Uh-oh, Michelle looks frozen.
Oh, there she goes.
Tracy, how was your conference? Are you going to your breakout room? Okay. No. Wait.
I couldn't come off mute. No, you're still on record though.
Oh, okay. Goodness. Did you choose someone to talk a little bit about this piece, reflect on what trust means for you and your team? So waiting on a few people to come back, it looks like.
Yes.
Oh, I love when people stay in their breakout rooms. Like, you can't tell me what to do.
It's good conversation.
That's a good thing, right? Because they're still, talking. So it's always good.
Room 4 is still in there. Oh, they just got kicked out. Okay.
Welcome back, everybody. You needed more time. Yeah? Yes, I needed a lot more time. Once you start talking about trust, right? It's my secret plan to get invited back. I'm just gonna that way there's lots of stuff, but there's more stuff we want to do together. Did everyone choose a fearless leader for their group to sort of shout out a little bit about what you reflected on in terms of what trust means for you and teams? You're like, oh, I didn't read that direction. This was the last one. Rachel's nodding at me. Rachel, are you the one, or did you just choose someone?
No, I'm the one. I can be the brave one and talk about what we talked about.
10 points.
Thank you. So when we talked about what trust means to us and our team, we said that it's feeling comfortable, that when you have something going on, you can talk to your team or talk to leadership about it, and feel safe with that. And then we also kind of talked about like trust for new people to the team, and like building an environment where they feel comfortable being new in your agency or in your department, whatever, so that they can they feel comfortable to ask for help and asking people to slow down for them, and kind of like instilling that on the first day, so that it's kind of like right from the start we're really like getting that trust in them so that they feel more comfortable. And then we looked at the second assessment, which was the trust in the workplace one. And we ran out of time, so we only talked about it a little bit. But we were looking through the list of questions on it, and we really liked them. We thought it was a good self-assessment for people to really kind of like center in and see where they're at. And then we said it also seems like it would be really good across the board. So whether somebody's in a leadership position or non-leadership position, it really applies to everybody. So it could be really helpful.
Awesome. Beautiful beginning. Oh, go ahead, Kayla.
No, that's okay. Anyone from room 1 want to report out? Karen, Kelsey, Michelle?
Oh, she knows who was in your group.
I do.
We can see everything.
I see everything.
I can share a little bit. We struggled a little bit. We took a little bit of time to just read over what we were looking at. We all agreed that we liked the format of the second survey better than the format of the first survey, but possibly the questions from the first one better than the questions of the second one. We talked about holding each other accountable and trusting that you knew what that meant and what those rules were, and kind of coming up with what the rules of accountability were going to be ahead of time, so that we all knew what page we were on, but then allowing each other mistakes and knowing that your team members will help you through those mistakes, and there would be no judgment or lack of respect for those mistakes that you might make.
Karen, I had 3 surveys and I made myself
Oh.
bring it down to 2 because I felt the same
Yeah.
way. I kind of wanted to mix and match them all. So when you said you wanted to combine them, I was having the same sort of dreams too. So in my mind, you played perfectly by thinking about your ideal trust survey.
Great.
And I loved the idea of this sort of thought around accountability and trust, because that's coming up next. So good seeds to plant.
Anyone from room 2?
She'll say your name.
I don't know what room I was in. Was
You're
I in
room
room 2?
two.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I thought. Okay. We talked about we also looked at survey 2, but we talked about having really clear expectations and how you can trust in that. We also talked about how trust is a two-way street and it can't just be given, and someone said something that was really great. They said that they feel like trust is what you do, not necessarily what you say. So that when you're doing things that are consistent and people know about it, they can trust you to do your job without a lot of sort of micromanaging and being there necessarily for every step. There was also something in the survey that talked about like not gossiping and stuff. And I think that that's really big. If you're wanting to create an atmosphere and an environment of trust, is to like do the sort of no drama type of environment, because I think if you can't go to someone, whether it's your supervisor or a coworker, and tell them something and trust that they're not going to tell it to everybody else in your office, then there really is not that sense of trust. And the problem with that is that once you break that trust, like once someone sees you talking about anybody else, like I know for me, like as soon as I see somebody talking about someone else, like my first thought is like, I'm sure they're talking about me too. Because if they're talking about them, what does it mean that they're not going to be talking about me, right? So like, and then I immediately lose trust for that person. And then it's kind of like you start to guard yourself, and then you can't really, you can work cooperatively because you're an adult and you do that professionally, but there's always that kind of like barrier of you don't really want to get too close because you know that that person is not trustworthy.
The ripples of trust, right? Kaiti, the culture that happens, right? When there's those things. We're going to talk about accountability a little bit next, and when there's breaches of trust, sort of. We'll hit on it a little bit. But definitely more there to say. Kayla, one more
Can I
group?
make a comment, Jillian?
Of course,
I
Brooke.
feel
You weren't in
like-
any groups.
No, I wasn't, but it's interesting because I feel like trust has to be earned in a sense, right? And, as we're training or holding these meetings, we want to gain their trust, but sometimes it takes time, and you don't know how long or how scarred somebody could be with like maybe losing trust in others, right? So I feel like it takes time. When I notice, like when I do trainings and I have multiple day trainings, by day 2, I feel like the participants are so much more connected because they've gotten to know me and the group, put trust in the group. And then by day 2, it's like I gain it. So like for a trainer's perspective, how do we gain that trust in a faster manner, right? Because maybe we don't have time on our hands and it takes that time, right? So it's always something that's like a barrier, like in a training perspective, that we kind of
that'd be a cool thing to think about too, Brooke. What is it that builds trust quickly or safety quickly in those environments? Yeah, that's a cool thought.
Does
Kayla,
anyone from room 3 or 5 want to share out before we move on?
I can share from I was in room 5. So we did also kind of like Heidi's group, we did like, and I think Karen also, we did like that second one a lot more. Just because it's a lot more like user friendly, but that first one could serve as not so much a survey, but like these are the values that we want to uphold. So kind of framing it and then doing that second assessment. We also agreed that it is, it goes both ways. We also touched on micromanaging and that, when you are given the trust to do things on your own in your own space, you want to be able to deliver to not, break that trust because then micromanaging happens. Yeah.
Thanks, Allison. Yeah, I feel like micromanaging has come up like this week, and it just is like, how like you hear about something, then it just keeps like appearing in your world. I think I've heard that word just a lot this week. Kayla, in the interest of time, I want to move a little bit forward. But if we have time afterwards in the other group who didn't get a chance I'll stay on for you if you want to talk a little bit more about your experience in your breakout room. So what happens after trust? Let's say that we've got some trust, some bi-directional, well-earned trust. We tend to get peer support and collaboration. This is where we get that community you want to be in Kaiti, where you could go up to someone and say, hey, you're frustrated with this person. You can't talk about it in the hallway. But I care about you enough to stop you right now and say, you have the right to be frustrated. Let's figure out where you need to go or do with that, right? We get a lot more creative thinking because that's what collaboration leads to. It just takes time. But we end up with more creative solutions. There's this motivation to support each other because I care about you, right? I want you to stay here. I want you to continue working here. I want to help you. The intent, right? The intent and the impact really change. And we can never totally prevent conflict. And I wouldn't want to because we need conflict in our lives. But we can prevent some of the conflict that doesn't need to happen. And we can prevent miscommunication. Miscommunication was the number one thing that people hated about meetings, that it could lead to tons of miscommunication. And so we do that by creating a meeting goal, recognizing power dynamics. There are certain meetings are for certain people to be in or not be in, and power plays a role in that. Authority is hierarchies exist in all of our work. We challenge ourselves to stay strength-based. And then if there is conflict, what happens, right? What do we do with that conflict? Becomes sort of that path. And Karen was talking about accountability, right? So to trust that if you were to absolutely have an explosion in a meeting, right, that I would say to you, this is really important to you, and I want to address it, but it can't be here, right? And we're going to find a time to talk about this. We're going to find a time to figure that out. I'm going to help you do that. We'll talk about some of those things that come up next. So I did a little bit of engagement research, something else I learned about when I was preparing to be with all of you. And Gallup did a meta-analysis, crazy large numbers for this. But look at what happens when our teams are really engaged. Better outcomes, better to the people we support, and more people want to be supported by us. We stay, right? We stay. It's that retention piece again. And then guess what? Employees who are engaged don't burn out. Well, they might burn out a little bit, but they don't burn out to the degree. And they're generally healthier, that well-being piece. So engagement and trust have a lot of shared stuff between them. It's another reason we, want to promote engagement. Like Brooke was saying, a bunch of people were saying that's when we know a meeting's really good. So here's another quick question. Why do we encourage providers to give young children roles and responsibilities? So this is another thing we do a lot in our 0 to 5 population. I let my 7-year-old choose this image. That's why it's dogs. Build their confidence, create community. Yes, you guys are getting so fast. Sense of belonging. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Ownership. It feels good, right? To be like, I got this. And any toddler teachers in the room, you remember when you teach toddlers to put something in a trash can, right? And then for just like 6 weeks, there's all kinds of crazy stuff in your trash can because they're just so happy to be able to use the trash can by themselves. Trust ownership. Lots of that. Help each other. Oh, Cindy, yes, they help each other. You start to see them take care of each other. Bring the other people's trash to the trash can. It's so cool. So empowerment is what we're talking about next. And it does for our little people what it does for us, agency and autonomy. It builds confidence. We get motivation. I want to do this. I want to do it well. I want to create something. I'm thinking about like Brooke getting exciting about a training, right? I'm going to create something. I'm motivated to do it. I want it to be awesome. And courage leads to compassion, because when you take risks and you see someone else take risk, you recognize what it takes. And then we get the shared power, the shared investment in it. And we can create that in a lot of ways, which is doing exactly what you were talking about, micromanagement. But when we hand off a task with confidence, if there's rules for feedback that everyone follows, we talked about maybe different ways people might like appreciation or feedback. I don't know how many of you know the 5 love languages. There's the 5 appreciation languages for work. So there's different ways feedback can work for other people, but we can agree upon some standardizations. Model asking for help. I'm not good at this. I could use help with this. Saying really sincere thank yous. I appreciate this. But here's the one that none of us do enough of. And actually, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that I owe my team this too. Taking a moment to celebrate the good. Like really pause in it and remember the sensation. So much of this work is to continue doing no matter what. Always a moving target. Yep, that thing was good. Keep going, build something new. But sometimes you got to sit in the things that are working. And that can be hard to do, but it's so powerful. And we keep that stuff in our brains and in our bodies in ways that keep us in that work and prevent that burnout when we just, wow. So a good reminder for that. A really short article that's linked in your citations for today is from Amy Edmondson. She teaches a course at Harvard on dynamic teams. Fascinating. What a cool course to take. I was never going to be a business major, so I wouldn't have been eligible for it, but that's a cool course to take. I would have liked that course. But she talks about inclusive leadership and sort of what that does for us all. So we know that those dynamic teams, right, that other people want to be a part of, or that, in a meeting when you have somebody working on something and they're excited to share their process, even if it's not going well, but they trust that in this space we can problem solve together, or, potentially there's a solution we haven't thought of. So this dynamic teaming, this creating solutions is really fascinating stuff to think about. And that happens when we practice a lot of cultural humility. So a lot of you said belonging when I put up those jobs, or ownership. And yeah, we all perform best when we feel like we belong. Anyone who was on the pause, anyone on the Learning Cafe yesterday? I know Shamia was. But she talked a lot about curiosity over judgment and what that does for our reflective capacity, which is something we talk about in mental health all the time. Honoring the unique experiences of people who are different from us, right? Really considering subjective experience of others deeply, and promoting vulnerability promotes accountability. This can be really hard for leaders, this shift into modeling vulnerability. Owning up to mistakes, even, saying, there's stuff I need you to know about that I didn't get that done, and there's a reason why, right? And I'm going to trust you. I'm going to tell you this piece about my home life or my history that's heavy. And you're going to hopefully protect it and honor it, and we'll build some connection. But it means we have to ask what people need. Doesn't mean we can always meet it, but we can ask. We can practice self-care. Modeling that is what inspires other people to do it. And we can allow for teams to share aspects of themselves that are essential to them. And they might be surprising. So being open-minded and curious about that and finding ways to incorporate it into our way of being. Maybe it's not something to do every meeting, but maybe there's meetings where you can. All right, so here's one of our guardian angels of infant mental health, Jerry Paul. And when it comes to trauma-informed care or trauma-informed meetings, if I could give you one quote that sort of takes all 4 of those R's and says, When you go into a meeting, keep this in mind, which is that how you are is as important as what you do. I love this quote. I'd probably put it on a t-shirt and wear it around. But this is one of those ways to kind of embody those 4 R's in a really simple sentence to yourself and in a really simple sentence, to your team, that how you are matters. And there's permission to have that whole spectrum of human experience and how you are, and have it be a part of what you do. It could be a great children's book. Tracy says, Jerry Paul owns this, Tracy, trademarked, in so much trouble. But yes, yeah, how you are is as important as what you do. So thinking about that as a piece of your trauma-informed meeting approach. Are you checking in with how people are? Do you know how people are? And when they tell you how they are, do you listen? Okay, now it's almost time for me to keep my promise to manage the time well. Is there a change you can make to your meeting structure or facilitation style that will help your meetings be a little more trauma-informed? Maybe you can just pat yourself on the back, be like, I do this already. I got this. You can be brave and unmute. Kelsey, who's in like a beautiful warm light. She's like got like really fabulous lighting. You can chat if you want to. Is there something you can do? Maybe keep the 4 R's somewhere? If you're old school like me and you have a meeting notebook, I don't know. Well, Lisa's like, I have a meeting notebook. Yeah, you do. With a nice pen. Roxana says she's going to be flexible. Okay. What are we here to do? Intentional, right? What are we here to do? And how can I ensure that we do it in this time we're together? Or acknowledge if we can't, we're going to do it in a different space, or we'll continue the space, right? That 48-minute sweet spot. Ten points to Roxana and Isabel. Okay. Allison's going to remember to wonder what happened. Yeah. Sometimes stuff gets stirred up in us and it comes up in unexpected ways. Like trying to watch for body language. I don't know Karen well enough yet to tease her out, Karen Morales, but look out, Karen, once I know you better. Sometimes we surprise ourselves. Yeah. Things come up for us too. And we're like, whoa, I need to pay attention to this. I actually loved that idea with the Learning Cafe yesterday, that we're really responsible for what we bring to interactions when we take a minute. Anything else you think you can carry with you? Practice the pause. Yeah. 90 seconds can be enough sometimes. Trusting environment, leading by example. Model it, right? And there's what's that famous statement? Whatever you create, you attract. Something like that. Yeah, a whole person with a whole life outside of whatever we're doing together. And it's complicated most of the time. Does someone here have a very linear, easy life with few complications? Because I would be very interested in your autobiography. Vulnerability. Oh, Zhangyi, I don't know why we forget this one because it's like such an important piece of who we all are, right? In our softer spots. Yeah. Lots of good ways to have more meaningful meetings. Okay. So here are our 4 R's. And they're curly cues to remind us of those things we want to carry with us, or how you are as important as what you do, right? Another 1-sentence way to kind of think about that. And then this is one of my favorite places in the Finger Lakes. I like to use it at the end of slideshows because it's, again, a way for me to offer a little bit of me to all of you and to show my gratitude for the vulnerability and the honesty that you extended to each other in this space, which is why I will always say yes if Brooke asks me to host space. But I used to say this to my students, and so I'll say them to all of you, but I want you to go in that world. I want you to be good to yourself. I want you to be good to others. And the best emails in my inbox are from people wanting to connect. So please, please, please feel free to reach out and we can have more conversations about meaningful meetings and other stuff that fills you up and makes work a place you want to be. I'll stay on a little longer in case anyone from that group wants to chat or anything else that comes up for all of you. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jillian. That was incredible. You are incredible. I look up to you. You are one of my role models. Before you all sign out, please, please, please sign the attendance form. And thank you once again, Jillian.
And I do believe that there's an eval attached to once you close Zoom. So if you feel you'd like to fill those out for us, that'd be great. Thank you.
Goodbye, my ITS and infant mental health peeps. I hope I see you at NACCE, Kelsey.
Yes, I hope to see lots of familiar faces at NACCE.
Bring me pictures of your baby.
I won't be at NACCE this year. I'm sorry.
What about the retreat? Will we see you at the retreat?
No, because my husband had the audacity to sign up for a conference for his work out of town at the same time. And
give me his number.
Someone needs to stay home with my 2-year-old. So
we'll see